Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today I have a subscriber who is going to share with us a couple of encounters. One who he heard from a Native American woman who was an acquaintance with him. Also, he's had a couple. Before we get into these encounters, a couple links. As you know, I rely on my Patreon, my PayPal, and my merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Those links are in the description below. Also, Dogman, Frightening Encounters, Volume 1, 2, and 3, the audiobook version, written by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeffrey Nadolny, is available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes. The links to those books are in the description. Now I've taken enough of your time. Let's get on with today's upload. Shall we? All right, everybody. Tonight I have a subscriber, and he has got some very intense encounters he wants to share with us tonight. I have Lucas from Iowa. Lucas, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Well, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I want to thank you for taking some of your time out of your day. I want to wish you a happy birthday as well.
Thank you very much.
No worries. So, pretty much, you're not a newbie to the channel. You know how I do it.
Yep.
I'm going to turn the floor over to you, my friend, and let you share.
All right. Sounds good.
All right.
All right. Well, the first story is not mine. It was told to me, and this is well before I knew what a Dogman was. I know what a werewolf is, but Dogman was a whole different story. And it goes back. I was at this place, let's just say, and we sat by each other a lot, and we got to know each other. And she's a native. I can't for the life of me remember a tribe she's a member of, but she was very active in it. She actually had a news article where she was getting some kind of honorable mention for keeping the legacy of this her culture alive. Anyway, so we're sitting down, and she begins to tell me, and it was really intense, because when she started telling me this story, like, the passion started growing and her eyes got big, and you can tell when people are, when it's really hitting home with them, or it's really special to them. And that's the feeling I got the whole time she was telling me this story. But she told me that she went into her bedroom one night, and in a dark corner on the other side of the room, she saw this gigantic figure of a wolf standing on hind legs. So a humanoid. She said it had a wolf face. It had the glowing red eyes. But the thing that, when later on, and I make the connections, she kept telling me that it was smiling at her. And here I am. I don't know this woman from Adam, really, just besides a few days or something. And she said she looked up. It's standing in the corner. It's light enough that she could see, but the lights weren't on, but she could plainly see this creature standing in the corner of the room. It was so tall it had to slump over, leaning down over, and it was sitting there grinning at her. It didn't move. She said she would close her eyes, put her head under the blanket, and then look back up to see if it was a trick of the light or something, but no, and it was still there. She said this went on for almost 2 hours, that this tall wolf-like creature, standing on hind legs, obviously, with glowing eyes, grinning at her. And finally, once, after she looked away, she looked back up, and it was just gone. And I'm sitting here absorbing all this, and I'm having a hard time, digesting this whole thing. But obviously, I'm not going to sit there and go, "Wow, you're a nut" or whatever. I'm just like, because I've seen some things too, and I've experienced things, and I know there's a lot more out there than meets the eye. There's darker things that in the world.
Right.
And if you accept it, if you want to tune it out and just pretend it's not there, then fine, it's not there. But anyway, so it was just 6-7 months ago when I ran into Dogman encounters, and then I started hearing these stories, and it was like boom, right there. I'm like, wow, this is what that gal was telling me. This is exactly what this gal was telling me. And you just got chills and goosebumps, and I'm going, wow, this gal saw a Dogman in a room. That's exactly what she was telling me. This is it's the very same thing as I'm hearing the other people report saying, and I was just like, whoa, it just kind of blew me away. Anyway.
Now, did she say that it said anything, or it was just glaring at her with these red eyes and a smile?
Just glaring with a smile. So, okay. I don't know, my guess would be that maybe he was commending her on her, fine work. Obviously, he didn't harm her.
Right.
So, your guess is as good as mine what he was doing there. But yeah, there was no noise. He didn't make any noise, didn't talk, anything like that. Just standing there and with the eyes and the grin.
Yeah, that's creepy. I mean, even though it didn't hurt her, it's red eyes and a smiling, large bipedal wolf in your room is creepy enough.
Yeah, exactly. And how it got there, I don't know. How it left, I don't know. I know there's a lot of speculation on whether, what these things can do.
Right.
Are, a lot of speculation, but that just, that's messed up.
Yeah.
That's really messed up. And then years later to come around and have somebody verify that exact same story. And it's just like, whoa, that's heavy.
Yeah, definitely.
Another situation or circumstance or encounter, I would say is, we have these reports of these large black cats.
Right.
Okay, I didn't know about this either. I'd say I've been into cryptids all my life. Bigfoot was one of the first big books I bought from our book fair at school, and Roswell UFOs. So I've always been into these things, but some of them aren't as well known as others. So this happened to be about 15 years ago. I was with my ex-wife, my son's mother. We were driving, and this wasn't even in the country. This was kind of on the edge of town, but more into town. There were still some factories and things around there. It was leading towards out of town. But we're driving along on this interstate. I don't know. It's doing about 50, 55, something like that. And all of a sudden, a giant black cat runs in front of our car. How we didn't hit this thing, I have no idea. We both jumped. We both looked at each other. Did you see that? What did you just see? I said, looks like a panther. Where in the hell would a panther be coming from? We got one small zoo, but that's like, 25, 30 miles away. We don't have those around here in Iowa. A cougar, a panther, it was black. And the other weird thing about this is it was, I don't want to say transparent, but there was and maybe it was our headlights on it. sort of a glow to it. It was just really weird. So I first thought that maybe we ran right through this thing, you know. I don't know. There is no way, because this thing was longer than our car was wide, and it was about as tall as the car was high. This thing was gigantic. I said, how we didn't hit this thing, I don't know. I was braking for a crash, but I looked over. I couldn't even see it on the side of the road running away. It was just gone. It was in front of us, and it was gone. It was a big panther-looking black cat.
Was there any eye shine that you saw?
You know, no, because it ran directly, and it was looking straight ahead, so I didn't get to see any of that. And it happened in such a flash, it was like it was in front of us. Like I said, we both kind of grimaced and turned away because we were expecting to run into this thing. You know, it took us a few seconds. Did you see? Yeah, I saw that. What was that? I don't know. You know, and going back and forth. And she would remember it to this day. You know, it's just one of those things that happen, and you're like, what did just happen? I saw it, but I'm not even sure what happened. But that's exactly what, you know, and then years later, come to find out there's reports of these, you know, I won't say all over the place, but there's multiple reports.
Yeah.
And so that was just wild also.
Yeah, I mean, there's like reports from all over for like the Wampus cat, or there's one that is very similar called the Cherokee Death Cat.
Okay. You know what? I'm going to look that up. I have not heard of that. I don't know enough about them, I should say. Keep going. I'm sorry.
No, I was just sharing, you know, it was just there, and nobody really knows, you know, what these things, and a lot of old timers like they would call. It's confusing because a lot of really old timers, like I'm talking, you know, 100 years ago, these catamounts or whatever, and they would usually call them catamounts, and they would refer to cougars, but a lot of people, when they said that word, were referring to a Sasquatch as well, like a cryptid,
really?
Or some sort of cryptid. Yeah, very interesting thing. You know, I've heard about that. You know, I've always heard the term, but a guy was talking on the show one time, and his grandfather had said, you know, watch out for the catamounts. And he always thought they were these large cats, but come to think about it, his granddad was referring to a Sasquatch.
No shit. Wow. That's I haven't heard that one before either, but you know, I love the way Luke calls it the walking wolf. That's who it, right?
Yeah.
Walking wolves. Yeah, that's pretty cool. On that there, I would say fortunately, unfortunately, but I think it's more fortunate than anything, I have not experienced one of them. I mean, you hear stories all over the place how people just get freaked out. I mean, they lose it. The guy who spends the rest of his life looking for one of these, you know, a Sasquatch, he finds one and then he takes off and leaves his wife. Or, I mean, it can be a very traumatic experience. I mean, I think some people just can't handle it. Yeah. And they just kind of snap. So I don't know if I want to. I mean, sure, I could say I would really, you know, I'd like to. It would be great that I could see one. Because until you see something yourself, there's always going to be, I mean, yeah, I certainly believe what people are saying. But you know what I'm saying. You know, when you see it, that's going to be a whole different world. Yeah. But so, you know, I kind of hope I don't. I kind of hope I do, if that makes any sense at all. Yeah. But there can be some negative repercussions when you have a run-in like that. That who knows? Maybe I'd rather just play it safe and, you know, experience these bizarre things that I've, you know, experienced. You know, I got, you know, one later I'll finish up that is one that I've never told anybody. I've never told my son. You're going to be the first person I've ever told this to. You know, and I don't know if some people's minds are just open to this stuff. like there was some paranormal experiences in a house that I lived in, and it followed over to my girlfriend. We've seen things, felt things. I don't know if certain people are kind of more open, if they're tuned in to this stuff, or maybe it's just allowing yourself to believe it. I don't know. But this last one I'll tell you about. This is the first time I've told this to anybody, and it's something I have thought about nearly every day of my life. And if it wasn't that day, there wasn't too many days that went by, because this is how much this thing freaked me out. Okay, we used to live out kind of in the country on a private drive. We lived in a pretty big house. Behind us was a big hill that went down into a ravine, and then there was the woods that went back up on the other side. Let's say if I'm looking out my window, to the left is a ravine, straight ahead was another house, but it's pretty far away. So we're kind of up on the top of this hill, and then if you look to the right, you're going across the street. And anyway, so I must have been 9 or 10, and I was looking out my window at night, and I used to just like to sit there and stare off into the woods. And there's enough light back there. There was one street light, but it's not real big. So there was enough light that you could see what was going on, but not enough that you could see details or anything.
Right.
Okay. So my room was on the downward slope of the first story roof. It went up in front of my, before my window, and it came back down, and going down the hill towards the ravine. Whatever this was, it wasn't more than a foot away from my window. It wasn't more than a foot off my roof. This thing skimmed the house and skimmed the roof. And it was so close, you could hear the wind. You could hear a whoosh. You could hear, feel, whatever. Couldn't feel it, but you could hear the wind, and something flew by my window. It went down below where I could see immediately. It went down the hill far enough I could see it again. It went down towards the bottom of the hill, and where the ravine and tree line start, it did almost a vertical straight up, and as soon as it hit the darkness of the sky, it was gone again. This thing's wingspan had to be about 10 feet wide. It was gigantic. I mean, when it flashed by, I couldn't tell you how many different thoughts went through my head. Fear, wonderment, all those words that, I'm seeing something that I have absolutely no idea, something that's bigger than anything I've ever seen. We have eagles around here. We have turkey vultures. We have all sorts of things. And from memory, this thing was like 4 times the size of anything around here. So it goes by, but the thing that got me, it had legs. This thing had legs.
Like humanoid legs.
These weren't sticks. These weren't owl legs. These weren't skinny. No, these were legs. They were round, and they had substance to them. The body must have been about 4 feet long, 5 feet long, and the wings were 10 to 12 feet wide. I mean, and it was just I think I sat down in my bed for 1 second, got back up to look again, and just sat there for an hour trying to go, what the fuck did I just see?
Right.
No, it just so, I mean, it's like I didn't want to accept that I saw what I saw. Now, I don't know, why this thing flew so close to the house. Why was it so close to the roof? There's a lot of sky up there. It didn't need to be skimming, it was almost like I had the feeling that this thing wanted me to see it. I don't know why. People just say that you can just kind of sense something or feel something. But yeah, that was my first thought was, why did this thing want me to see it?
Right.
And it was gone. But for every day of my life, I've tried to search, and I did searches on what would be flying in the sky that big. What flies in the sky that has legs? I would love to say I remember feet, but this thing flashed by. I got a snapshot of it in my head. I saw it go down, saw it come up.
Now this was in Iowa as well.
Yeah, this was in Iowa.
Because there's been a lot of like humanoid flying creatures spotted throughout. Not just people talk about the Mothman, and think that's just a Virginia, West Virginia creature. But
sure.
Lately, as of late, for the last, couple years, there's been a humanoid-esque, large, like you're describing, creature flying in and around the city of Chicago.
Really?
It's been spotted by O'Hare Airport.
Wow.
In downtown Chicago, people grazing buildings, like people look out and they see this thing fly by.
Really?
And it's very stealthful as it, like how you were describing it went down and then shot up vertically, very stealthily like that. Now, when you just, you said there's a flash, like you got a mental snapshot. Do you remember a body of this or a face or a head shape?
I'm trying. No, that was the first part. It was more of a rear view. I'm still trying to remember if I could see wings or not. Feathers.
Okay.
I'm not sure. It happened fast, but I know the size of what I saw. And I was hoping for the last, few months, the more I thought about it, it might come to me, because it happens with people. They jar a memory and then they start thinking about it and details start coming back in. Part of me wants to say, yeah, it had feathers. But I really couldn't say. I'm not going to,
maybe
say
that's
something I'm not.
Your brain putting it had feathers because it has wings.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of these creatures that are this thing that are seen are people just make out the wings, legs, but the rest of it is almost nondescript because it moves so fast, and it's almost too hard to describe. You've got these large wings, kind of like legs, but you're really not making out the upper portion of it. Every once in a while there's a report of red eyes being spotted with them.
And unfortunately I got a view from more of the rear of it.
A good friend of mine, Lon Strickler, he has a website called Phantoms and Monsters. I recommend going over there and checking out, because maybe the more you read about these things, then maybe that'll help refresh your memory.
You know what? That sounds like a fantastic idea.
It's called phantomsandmonsters.com, and you'd have to scroll. He's got, different encounters daily. And, there's just an abundance of humanoid flying creatures spotted.
Wow.
And I said, just recently in Chicago.
Yeah, really. Well, that sounds like a project to look into. Wow. Because I would love to figure out what this thing might or might not have been. My whole life, I have this memory, and like I said, this is the first time I've told anybody. And it's not that I'm afraid people are going to say I'm crazy. people kind of think I'm crazy anyway. No, but it was just something that was like, I don't know, it was kind of personal to me, and this was my experience. But now it's getting to the point. No, I think some other people may need to hear this, because somebody else out there might be able to help me figure out what this thing was. I got this lifelong dilemma of seeing something fly by my window that just should not have been in the sky is all I can say.
Right.
And it's nothing I've seen anywhere on TV, magazines. So I would really like to do that and do some research and see what other people saw. And like you said, maybe that'll kick in something, and then I could figure this out. If I could figure out what this thing was, maybe I'll sleep a little bit better at night.
Absolutely.
Or maybe I won't sleep a little better now.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's, pretty incredible. Like I said, definitely check out Lon's webpage, because that really may help refresh some stuff. Lucas also has some paranormal stuff that he's going to share. I'm going to put a paranormal video together. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take like a couple of stories from Lucas, a couple of stories from this person and that person, and just kind of do one big paranormal show. So that's something he's down for. Is there anything that you'd like to say to everybody before we end the upload for the evening?
Just keep your eyes open and believe what you see. It may not always make sense, but you're seeing it for a reason. And I really want to thank you. It was great to be on and great talking with you, man. You're a super cool dude.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. And it's wonderful meeting you. Once
Thank
again,
you.
Happy birthday, man.
Hey, thank you very, very much. Appreciate that.
Have a good night.
Hey, you too.
Wow, what a wicked nice guy. Super nice. I really enjoyed talking with him. I really am fascinated by this encounter that this acquaintance of his had. I'm hoping that maybe eventually someday he can reach out to her and I can talk to her, because I think that'd be amazing. Very interesting flying humanoid encounter. I don't cover those too much on the channel because, I have a friend, Lon, who has a lot of them on his blog site and in his book line. So it's something that I normally don't cover, but they're very interesting and very terrifying all in the same sense. Something that can fly, that's large, that could actually pick one of us up and just, who knows, do what with us. God. Ugh. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed today's upload as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. And with that, I'm going to bid you all farewell.